Hello and welcome to Rockingham in Northamptonshire for round 6 of the 2022-2023 EERC British Touring Car Championship. My name is Edward Hunter. Alongside me, as always, dutifully doing his duties in the broadcast direction booth is Nick Homewood. So, Nick, how are you feeling today? There we go. I didn't want to make it sound too much like torture as we just look at Pascal Eggert negotiating the Rockingham circuit. So, an interesting track here, of course, has some touring car history, not on the calendar anymore, sadly, because the track basically had to close down. But it's one that, as we can see, Neil Greening going through the oval sort of part on the back half of the circuit. It's really it's a little bit like the Indianapolis road course, isn't it? With the banked part and then the sort of infield section that's a lot more twisty and technical.
It's quite a wide track though, so hopefully we'll get some nice overtaking. But yeah, it's a bit of a waste because it's used as a car storage facility these days. It's all still there, but
it's a big shame. But there we go. That's the way things go sometimes, and it's not really much we can do about it, unfortunately. But still, the track's still there, preserved for all and sundry to use in sim racing. We see Adam Ziola having a little bit of a moment and collecting himself up in the Infinity. And this is an interesting one. Is this really going to be more of a front-wheel drive or a rear-wheel drive circuit, Nick?
I think front-wheel drive, but it should be
you always say that.
Fairly balanced compared to some tracks, because we've got slow speed and we've got high speed.
Yeah, and certainly the man really setting the pace at the moment, 4 tenths ahead of everyone else in this practice session, is of course Matt Richards in the Scuderia Moreira number 4. Of course, we've not seen Matt Richards in action yet this season, so Scuderia Moreira is certainly looking to make an impression.
I believe he was due to drive last race, but someone hit the fibre box outside his house and knocked his Wi-Fi out.
Yeah, and I feel sorry for Paul PJ Venter, because Paul has had it feels like everyone in South Africa has had their internet taken out for like 10 hours or something.
Yeah, they have scheduled blackouts apparently.
Chris Hood has just sent me a message saying, why aren't we starting?
Well, it's not 1:30 yet. He's got 12 seconds to wait.
There we go. So that answers that then, Chris. At least Chris knows his way around now. But I'm certainly not expecting too much from my cars here, with all due respect to my drivers. Maybe a couple of them will surprise me. Remco seems to have caught up a little bit, 1.8 seconds off the pace. But I think it's the likes of Richards, Seifert, Benton, English and Hartley. They're going to be the 5 to watch, I think, here. With maybe the likes of Neil Greening and Andy Simmons maybe getting involved as well. It's great to see all 3 of the gravel trap cars, by the way, have won this season. So there's a reason why they're leading the team's championship by 20 points at the moment.
Yeah, no Kings to challenge that either.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be very difficult for Louis Hartley and is it Schumann and Hartley in the same team?
It's Mario, but he's got
Mario
an
Valencia.
exam today. So
yeah. So basically, Louis Hartley was leading the Drivers' Championship by about 40 points over Chris English, because Mia Rose, of course, despite being left a while ago, is still there due to having had a few races cancelled, still up there in second. So, but anyway, there's Studniarek, Igor Studniarek in the SZ racing car, just leaving the pit lane. And Studniarek has had a bit of I want to say an erratic season, maybe, that he's won on the road in at Knutstorp, but otherwise he's been in the wars, had a few incidents and accidents here and there. Not all his fault, obviously. Some of them were our fault, but it always seems to be the Hunter simulation car that the sister Infinity keeps hitting. As we see Carl Benton in a nice new gravel trap livery taking to the track then. Yeah, new winner, of course, from Anglesey, Carl Benton.
They've all got their own unique colours now. The 3,
Streamer bot, yeah, it says on the side of Benton's car.
So Benton has got this pinky purple, and then you've got English, he's got the red around the top, and Benton, no, we don't.
Simmons is Andy Simmons is the third driver.
And he's got also green.
Okay, so quite similar to Benton then. So it's Chris English who's got the most unique livery.
So they've taken the same car by mistake.
Yeah, there we go. And
it's a different green.
Okay, different sort of it's more of a yellowy green on Carl Benton's car, whereas Simmons has got a darker green highlights on the rear wing and the top of the windshield at the front. And also it says Benton in the back of the...
It's a good giveaway.
Yeah, exactly. But here we go. A little bit wide into that looked like... I'm not sure what turn that was. We see Matt Richards in the Scuderia Moreira car. And Richards there in the number 4. Taking to the track. He's just about to go through Tarzan, I think, there. As we look at Carl Benton going to the end of the lap there. And it's a sort of awkward chicane, isn't it? Because you've really got to set yourself up well through that sort of 9, 10, and 11.
It does sort of ruin the flow of the track a bit, that chicane.
A little bit, but also I guess after Tarzan, it's and the first corner, Dean, it's another overtaking opportunity. I guess if you can get up the inside early enough.
Yep.
With a good run down School Straight.
We've got a few people leaving and joining the server, which is what's causing the freezes.
Okay. Always seems to happen. I remember when I used to play Trackmania, that would happen like all the time. Like it even like we'd ban people from typing in chat during races because it would screen freeze everyone sometimes.
Yep. We have got that rule.
Yeah, well, let's hope everyone remembers it. As Benton sets the fastest first sector of anyone in his gravel trap machine, number 22. Benton, let's have a look. It's actually Pascal Eggert, I think, who's actually set the fastest first sector of anyone so far. But that's just been smashed by Matt Richards, who just goes through the first sector in a time of 31.921.
He's not hanging around.
Yeah, that's quite a significant distance faster than anyone. Adam Ziola and Louis Hartley sets a 29.9 in sector 2, which is about a tenth faster than Carl Benton. But Benton, it's still showing purple because no one has really set proper lap times. There's a surprisingly long lap here, about 90 seconds, as Ziola and Hartley cross the line, followed by Remco de Zier. And now let's see what Benton's time is. Oh, it's slower than Hartley by about 4 tenths there. So championship leader Louis Hartley putting down the marker there as Benton streams through that back first corner there. Really exciting corner to start the lap on, isn't
There's
it?
There's Richards, 8 tenths.
Wow, there we go. Matt Richards well and truly laying down the marker then in that Scuderia Marrero machine. And, of course, the old Irish squad who've essentially rebranded themselves, certainly looking to impress. I still think Luc Monnier who's supposed to be driving for us, seems to still be in the number 13 Scuderia Marrero entry.
He also
so I'm
hasn't
not
gone anywhere in a while.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happened to Luc. I'm starting to regret hiring in the team now that he's not doing any qualifying laps. But there we go. Still Remco de Zier for Thunderbird Simulation 5th in the number 82. But here's Louis Hartley looking to that's going to be a big blow, seeing Matt Richards 8 tenths quicker than him. A big blow to everyone, really.
I think that'll be his 75 kilos.
That's very true, actually. So that's the curse of being the championship leader. You have to hold all that extra ballast around of you. Chris English and Carl Benton have got a very similar issue, although less ballast, obviously.
Yep, and around here with that big long banking, it's really gonna.
Yeah, and look at the rear hang out there through the. That's Tarzan. He just went through turn 9, of course. But Hartley looking to set up another lap then, and Benton actually eclipses Louis Hartley's time. Then it's look at him crosting over the curb. I invented a new verb there.
That's a great word.
But yeah, it's sort of crooning and coasting. But it's certainly I'm just going to set up my own Edward Hunter dictionary at this point. But there we go. There's Peter Schumann, of course, down in 17th and last position on his first flying lap. Takes a wide line through Tarzan.
He was having some game issues, so this is his first lap off the track ever.
Well, there we go. Good to have that info there. It's handy that Nick, Peter's former teammate, has got a handy little excuse for him. But Peter, as he kicks up a little bit of dust, keeping it fairly neat and tidily, as he setting personal best, but I don't think he's going to be too close to the top 10 here. Possibly he might be around Boolean greening sort of territory.
Yeah, I think so.
There you go. 16th then. So he just beats Moynier, who's still stationary in the pit lane.
In the wrong
Here's
car.
Benton. Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure he'll be disqualified in due course if he hasn't switched to the Hunter Birch car. But anyway, here's Benton. Then sets a personal best in the second sector, but slower in the first sector.
Hartley completes a lap. Didn't look like he improved.
And there we go. So Louis Hartley definitely under pressure, because remember, he was on pole for the abandoned race at Mont Tremblant, although we didn't talk too much about that, as Benton teleports back to the pit lane. Richards has sort of been setting pretty consistent times, but not particularly any quicker than before.
English is starting a lap.
Yeah, let's see what Chris English can do. Down in 7th at the moment.
Right on board. Can we do? Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, let's get into the windscreen then. You can see the twitch.tv address mirrored as he goes through that first corner then, trying to cross his hands on the wheel then, as I'm sure he'll be doing in real life. But that's denegotiated. Now here we go into Yentwood. The sort of 90-degree right-hander. You see a big balloon in the background as well, flying in the sky, hot air balloon. Into Chapman Curve. Neat and tidy for the most part. Now into Piff Paff. Make sure you don't take the wrong direction there, as we saw Chris Hood doing in practice a couple of times, but he's thankfully cut that out for the time being. Now Chris English goes into steel straight. Oh, and we lifts the wheels dramatically and finds himself on the grass. So Chris English will have to abandon that lap, the 88, pushing that bit too hard. And Chris English definitely feels after Anglesey, where he really struggled with there's all sorts of problems. He just kept going off track, didn't he? And it feels like after a really strong round in a Mount Panorama, Chris English is on the back foot and really fighting to recover. Only a minute left because Chris English really got the fuel to do another run here.
Well, he's backed way off. They probably to cool his tyres down and then he'll go again.
Yeah, but anyway, Hartley and Benton very close to go. Chris English nearly hits the wall. He looked like he was heading straight for the wall there from the off-board camera. All the pressure is really on English and potentially Hartley and Benton to try and maybe get a bit closer to pole, but Matt Richards is looking pretty imperious at the moment. Into the first corner, or second corner rather, approaches Chris English into Dean.
Very nice. Nice and tidy.
Once again, squared the apex beautifully there. Doesn't kick up too much dust on the exit curb. And now into Yentwood, followed by Chapman Curve. Not using too much of the curb at Yentwood. Chapman Curve, also pretty neat and tidy. This is where, after Piff Paff, is where it went wrong before. We are on the sort of final lap attempts here, aren't we? Let's see how wide Chris English goes then into Steel Straight. And this time, looking a little bit more collected, not so far over the curb. Into Grasslands.
He's not too far down.
And now Tarzan, turn 9. Got to get there. This is one of the really trickiest corners because the rear is constantly battling with you. But Chris English, Perfect. That was a beautiful apex there. And Benton, Hartley looks like he's done. Benton is still on the lap though.
Only half a second down. Oh, no.
Oh, and the wheel's lifting. Somehow Chris English saves that without cutting the middle of the final little chicane there. But now it's all about that run to the line. Can Chris English get himself into the top 5, top 6 or so? Simmons has also completed his run. And English beats Igor Studniarek then.
I think he hemorrhaged quite a bit of time in that chicane.
There we go. And there's Carl Benton, I think, who's just finished his lap. Looks like he may start on the front row then, because Louis Hartley's done. Roy Seifert, I think, is still out there on a few personal bests. Here he is. Here comes Roy in the Soul Kings entry. Kings Dealer Racing now. But let's see what Roy can do. Can he get into the top 3? No, it's 4th for Roy Seifert then. Still a pretty decent starting position. Here's Neil Greening. Not on any personal bests, unfortunately. Seifert did improve his time. He was only about less than a tenth away from Louis Hartley, so that was pretty impressive. Here comes Neil Greening over the start-finish line, and it's a 22-1, which is not particularly quick. So Greening will remain in 10th position, rounding out the top 10 then. So there you go. There are your final results. Looks like that was the last car over the line. So Matt Richards takes a pole position then for Scuderia Moreria. First pole position for Scuderia Moreria. Carl Benton will line up second alongside him for Gravel Trap with Louis Hartley, championship leader, just behind him. Then it's Roy Seifert for King's Dealer Racing. Remco Dizou fifth for Hunter Birch Simulation, despite Remco saying he didn't like this track, so that's pretty good, all things considering. Andy Simmons lines up sixth just behind him. And then it's Chris English in the other Gravel Trap. Disappointing for the man second in the championship, but he did beat Igor Studniarek for SZ Racing. Then it's Pascal Eggert ninth for Finnevon Motorsport White. Neil Greening rounds out the top 10, and then we go into 11th position, which is going to be occupied by Paul J. Venter, who did somehow manage to get a lap in, despite the internet in South Africa apparently going completely kaput. Paul was able to get in the server and set a few laps. Niall Bullion will line up 12th from, who's this then? Bjorn Adebar.
I think it is.
Bjorn Adebar for Scuderia Maria Blossom, who of course makes his debut in the 113. Adam Ziola will line up 14th ahead of Chris Hurd. Peter Schumann rounds out the field, and Luc Moynier will hopefully be able to start the race for Hunter Birch Simulation, but he's currently in the wrong car, or the wrong skin anyway.
Okay, straight
but
to the
that
race.
is your grid.
No
So you got to say, Matt Richards must be feeling pretty confident after that one, Nick.
I think so. He's definitely, obviously, very quick, and without the ballast, he might have a pretty easy time, but everyone's got to survive turn 1.
Yeah, well, we'll see how race 2 goes for him. Let's see who's using, if I just go into, where is the tyre choices again? It's in event info, isn't it?
It should be in the confirmed teams list.
That's it, sorry, wrong. I looked in the wrong thing, didn't I? But anyway.
Matt Richards is using them in race 1.
Oh, there we go. So Matt Richards making hay while the sun shines. Dave Young
not racing.
And Valente
not racing.
have also set to use it, but they're not there. So Yeah, it's really only Matt Richards. So expect Richards, if he can avoid Benton and Hartley at the start, he might run away. And it's almost free wide here. It looks like very old
turn
style.
one, it could be fireworks. But
here we go. Rockingham, this Speedway in Northamptonshire. It's been dormant until now, but the light's about to go on, and Matt Richards will lead away from pole position here at Rockingham. And we're underway. And we cut to the pit lane there, but it is, for some reason, Moynier is still in the pit lane, but Richards makes a clean breakaway from Benton and Hartley, who are now starting to fight each other. Diziu has got up into fourth position behind them, but it looks like Simmons on the inside, threatening to dive up the inside, and here comes Diziu up the inside of Carl Benton. Oh, and they bump wheels into Studniarek there, 3 wide, and that looks like, Pascal Eggert spins around one of the logistical nightmare cars, and it's all a bit of mayhem there. That is, unfortunately, Remco Diziu, who really got caught out in the second phase there of that, the second part of that corner. And there's Paul J. Venter, I think, or is that Paul J?
That's Greening.
Neil Greening, his teammate. But Richards, of course, not troubled by any of that. Now 7/10 ahead of Louis Hartley. Oh, look at the rear sliding out. That's how confident Matthew Richards is. Matthew Richards, just call him Matt Richards because that's what's on the entry list. But that was a perfect start for Scuderia Marora.
Yeah, definitely avoided all the chaos and just ran off up the road.
Yeah, there we go. Only really Louis Hartley is going to be able to challenge him here in this first race. So it's just crucial that Matt Richards doesn't let Louis hang out too much. But Gravel Trap also have had an excellent start to the race because with Remco Diziu out the way as Chris English mounts the curbs and nearly completely loses control, but thankfully recovers before Carl Benton can catch up to him. But there we go. It's Simmons, English, Benton in formation then. 3rd, 4th and 5th looking to get big points out of this first race.
Richards is starting to pull quite a gap already, 1.3 seconds in.
Yeah, there we go. So Louis Hartley will be hoping that Matthew Richards struggles a bit more in race 2 when he hasn't got the soft tyres, and also will have a bit more ballast.
Yes.
So this is certainly playing out for Richards at the moment, but in the long game, over all 3 races, he might find himself having to really fight much harder in races 2 and especially 3 with the mixed up grid.
Most people have taken the option tyre in race 3, so he could be in a world of pain then.
Yeah, a couple have gone for race 2 though, including I know 2 of my drivers. One of whom is still stationary in the pit lane. Thanks, Loic. But there we go. Maybe race 2 will be better. Chris Hood has made a comment after qualifying saying, I'm still struggling in the rear-wheel drive. So I think Chris Hood in 11th at the moment, still trying to get used to it as he pursues Peter Schumann for top 10. And he's got Diziu not far behind him either, about 4 seconds. But here we go. This is Peter Schumann. Be nice to have the graphic on screen that has the driver name on, if possible, Nick. Not to be too pedantic. But there we go. That's helpful for the viewers at home, or however many there are. There's at least 7. Which isn't too bad. Nobody has commented yet, so please let us know what you think of the action as Matthew Richards sets a 1:19.6. Very, very quick time there, given we're still in the early phase of the race. 3 seconds to the good now ahead of Louis Hartley. But here's Pascal Eggert challenging Adebar in the second Scuderia Marora entry for 7th position. So, yeah, Bjorn Adilbar. Oh, he goes very wide into whatever that corner's called, and that lets Pascal through. That's, of course, Dean Corner. But here we go. Abdelbar still has a few wheels alongside, and Pascal goes wide and onto the grass. And that is going to let the Scuderia Marora, number 113, back through. And is it going to let Paul J. Venter through? It is. And Paul J. Venter runs side by side with Pascal Eggert. So a catastrophic couple of corners. Is Pascal going to slow him behind? He makes contact with Paul J. Venter. And this has not been the cleanest couple of corners then between Pascal and the other drivers. But here's Benton then catching up to English, who's really pushing to try and put the pressure onto his teammate Simmons. Could we see could we see some inter-team battling between the 3 gravel trap cars with Hartley quite 2 seconds ahead of them?
Well, saying that, Simmons has been slowly catching up to Hartley.
Yeah, the big battle is right behind Studniarek as Chris Hood goes off track and makes a big mistake there. He's clearly lost it or made contact with someone.
He's in Loic's car.
He is. Oh, no wonder. Oh, Loic will have to take Chris Hood's car. For some reason, Chris seemed to think that Loic was in the number 1, which I don't know how he got that idea. Okay, I don't know what. Maybe Loic just doesn't have a car to drive because Chris is in his car. Oh dear, so Adam Ziola out of the race then, which is a big shame for SZ Racing. But Benton now really close to the back of Chris English, and looks like Simmons is actually lost a little bit more time to Louis Hartley, so it's a bit deceptive, that camera angle there. So the big battle is really between Abdebar, Venter, Eggert, and Schumann for between 7th to 10th, I think. With Desir a couple of seconds behind Peter Schumann. And here comes Pascal Eggert going really wide, trying to get the inside of Paul J. Venter. So Venter's going so much slower, and it's really... Oh! Pascal into the wall. He goes, that was a big hit for the Finnevond white car. And that's surely going to put Eggert into the clutches of his teammate Schumann. He's got to make sure he doesn't hold him up too much here, because Desir is still battling to recover here.
Yeah, he just drifted wide there. He's got to have some... damage, I'd have thought.
That front wheel, that steering looks absolutely horrific. And I have to say, Pascal has kind of brought this on himself, because that was a pretty unforced error there. But anyway, I'm sure you disagree with me with your silence there, Nick.
I was looking at something else.
Oh, okay, fair enough. As Pascal lifts a wheel, and is that some trouble up ahead? Or is that just...
Venter has caught Adebar.
Yeah, Adebar really on the defensive once more, which has allowed Studniarek to make a break for it in 6th position as the two Finnevonds battle behind. And looks like Gravel Trap are still in formation in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So English keeping Benton at bay. But Venter goes for a wider line into Dean in the number 42. Lovely number there. Very Douglas Adams-ish.
I've just noticed the bananas on his windscreen as well.
Of course, yeah. Why not? Why wouldn't you have bananas on the windscreen? Let's Paul stand out from his teammates as Adebar kicks up a bit of gravel and dust on the exit of Chapman Curve. But now Paul is going to be on the outside here as they go through the fast left-hander at Piff Paff. Paul is going to have to really hold it out and not get squeezed in the wall. That was a superb move by Paul J. Venter, and 7th place is his. And you have to say, Adebar was very cooperative there. Could have closed the door a lot more forcefully as Venter actually gets a little bit on the grass, but not as much as Pascal Eggert behind. Oh, dearie me. And Schumann must be getting a bit frustrated now, seeing Pascal all over the road in front of him. But he can't do anything because they're not on the... There are teammates, aren't they? So he could actually order him out of the way. But Pascal, being one of the organisers at EERC, probably less keen to do that. And of course, viewers of EERC will be familiar with Peter's that Dakar Rally game that Peter's been streaming, isn't it? Where he does all those explainer videos.
That's actually Red, who's the owner of EERC.
Oh, the Red. Okay, sorry. I thought it sounded like Peter. I apologise. I think Peter has something to do with that, I think. I don't know.
Well, yeah, close enough.
But anyway, thanks to Red for that. As is that Benton and English fighting, or is that Adebar catching back up to Paul J. Venter?
It is, yeah.
And it is, in fact, Studniarek in 6th, who's the highest placed rear-wheel drive driver at the moment. So Igor Studniarek actually having a very impressive drive in this first race. But
he's kept his nose nice and clean.
John Adebar continuing to hassle Paul J. Venter, who definitely seems to have not lost a bit of confidence since getting past Abdebar. But that could potentially close them back towards Eggert and Schumann if Venter can't get the pace back up. Because Eggert seems to have gotten around his bent steering a little bit.
Yeah, you get used to it eventually.
You do, I guess. But out in the lead with just under 9 minutes to go, Matt Richards, 7 seconds now, and on those soft tyres, and with no tyre wear. Let's remember. And on those softs, so Matt Richards definitely. He's driving almost like he's trying to build as big a gap as possible to Louis Hartley, isn't he?
Has retired.
Oh dear, that's another Hunter Birch in difficulties. Chris Hood out of the race, and that makes 2 out of 3 gone, which is bad for the constructors with Gravel Trap looking to score a lot here.
Loic was pulled aside. He had to help his dad with something.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
He'll be back for the next round of races.
Well, fingers crossed. But Mr. Moynier, who did offer to actually drive Thunderbird Simulation at Mont Tremblant, I think, at one point, and then Loic sort of was like, actually, I'm not sure he's that keen. Yeah. Well, he was the one who suggested it, and then immediately, like 30 seconds later, was like, nah, maybe it's not a good idea.
Cold feet.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Moynier, I'm sure the door's open if you ever want to have a go and see in the future, because I'm not that fussed about winning the team's championship, because I think Gravel Trap, look at these 3, they're pretty unbeatable at this phase, especially now that Mia Rose is gone, with all due respect to Chris Loic and Remco, who's still going down in 12th position. Behind her, Roy Seifert, who actually got caught. Oh, big crash! That's Venter in the wall!
He's gone over the wall.
Oh dear, so maybe there was some kind of connection issue there for the South African driver there. And that looks terminal there for Logistical Nightmare Drive, who was doing so well. Perhaps there was contact with Adebar who's now in 7th position, of course.
He's still going.
Oh, he's going to try and recover. That's Seifert and Diziu who've just gone through. And Greening, I think his teammate is about to come across him as well. But Venter looking like he's waiting for his turn. Is he going to come back on now? There we go. So just decided to let the entire field through. He's missing the rear spoiler as well. And that does not that's crabbing horribly like a crustacean you'd find on a beach or something.
I expect him to go to the pits.
There we go. Let's see.
Or not.
Yeah, so like saying also the diner and dad, so I assume something to do with work has gotten in the way of him doing race 1 here, which is a shame for us, but you know, you can't help real life getting in the way now and again. And Loic's yeah, but Loic's a pretty good driver. Maybe he can make up some ground in race 2 as Schumann has finally gotten past Pascal Eggert for 8th position. Then as we see the 3 gravel trap cars converging together, Chris English now giving Andy Simmons some trouble, and Carl Benton has not gone away either. So a little bit of personal pride here, even though in terms of the team's championship, this race is turning into a big payday for this team. But there's only one podium position up for grabs, and they all want it for themselves, don't they?
They do, but they also don't want to throw away a bunch of constructors' points.
Yeah, well, we've seen how easy that is to do. Just in the past couple of minutes with poor Chris Hood, Neil Boulian, and even Paul J. Venter all crashing out, I think. And Ziola, of course.
Yes, exactly. Ooh, there's a bit of tyre. I think Hartley went wide there.
Oh dear. So that's why the gap's gone up to 10 seconds now to Matt Richards. And Hartley, with all that ballast, could find Andy Simmons, who I think has got the least ballast of all the gravel trap cars, and that's why he's leading at the moment. As we see in the background, that Schumann holding off Eggert, and Roy Seifert is caught back up. Did you see what happened to Seifert at the start? I think he got caught up with Diziu and was it Ziola, I think.
Yeah, let's see if he's...
Yeah, here we go. So this is a good little battle between Schumann, Eggert, Seifert, and Diziu to get into the top 8 here.
3 Toyotas in a row.
Here we go, 3 Toyotas and an Infinity. The 2 Frinavons go very, very wide through Piff Path, which potentially allows Seifert, and they swap positions again. That's Eggert past Schumann now, and Roy Seifert getting very, very held up here. This puts Diziu potentially into play a little bit, as once again the 2 Frinavons go side by side. Fantastic racing. Schumann is let back through, and in comes Seifert then into Tarzan. Turn 9, is there going to be space for the 2 of them? Eggert is on the outside now, and has to concede. Seifert into 9th position.
Nice move.
Here we go. So Seifert desperately trying to make up places in the last 4 minutes, and Eggert's still there on the outside as they go through the final chicane, both wheel lifting there. And now Diziu well and truly on the back of them.
We're about to have a 4-way fight.
Yeah, here we go. Any little mistakes and Diziu could take advantage. But here we go into the bank turn 1, which the Infinity's not going to be as strong as the Toyotas through with all that weight transfer. Although Diziu, I don't think, has got as much ballast as Seifert because he's slightly further behind in the championship. Into Dean Curve they go. And everyone keeping it very neat and tidy. With actually Pascal starting to be dropped a bit here. So, look at how much Diziu is pushing to desperately keep in touch in the last 3 minutes or so. But we still got the 3 gravel trap cars very close together and only about 3 seconds behind Louis Hartley. What else is going on? It's really this battle between Eggert and Schumann is actually dropped to 10th. I've misread that, actually. Which one was in front of whom? Because we were watching Roy Seifert so much. So it is actually Eggert leading Seifert, Schumann in 10th ahead of Diziu. So Eggert actually putting in a very, very good defensive drive here.
He is, yeah, especially with that damaged steering. I wonder if Seifert's got damaged steering as well from the
yeah, quite possibly lap. From the from that earlier incident. As Diziu all over the back of Peter Schumann in the number 69. Yeah, here we go. The wheel actually looks okay, so if there's any damage, it might be to the bodywork of Seifert's car. Let's look at them climbing the curb here. There's the little pit entry on the inside, hoping none of these cars have to go in there in the last 3 minutes.
But got a bit out of sorts through the chicane there.
Yeah, and also this looks like a really good run here for Roy Seifert. Is Pascal Eggert going to have anything in defence? As once again, Diziu not able to carry quite as much momentum with him through turn 1. Into Dean they go. And, very close to the inside, the King's Toyota there. And Pascal, just to try and get a little bit of breathing room, really, to try some kind of manoeuvre. Diziu looking a little bit desperate here as well, behind Schumann. Looks like they all know time is running out in this race here. But it looks like Matt Richards is on to a very, very comfortable debut victory here. And now Roy Seifert through pit path, closing up very rapidly to the back of Pascal Eggert. Through grasslands they go. Eggert goes wide, and that could be all the invitation that Roy Seifert needs. And he's through into 8th position. Can Pascal counter-attack? He tries to dive up the inside into Tarzan, but Seifert defends and now has to go a little bit offline as a consequence. And now looks like Diziu challenging Schumann. As once again, Pascal tries to go around the outside of Roy Seifert through that 10-11 chicane. And Seifert goes a little bit wide and over the curb. Is Pascal going to force his way through here? He is. He's got the inside, but Seifert will try and hold it around the outside. And here we go. This is the battle for 8th place, I remind you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how comfortable it is up front. And here we go. Trying to go around the outside is Roy Seifert through turn 1. He's still got slightly better momentum here. That ballast really hurting Roy Seifert down the straight here. Is he going to dive up the inside into Dean? No, he's a little bit too far back. And he just about avoids crashing into the back of Pascal Eggert then. This is very entertaining. And once again, Diziu trying to just keep them in touch. But I think the Infinity is a weaker car, as you were saying, Nick, around here. So there's... Schumann just needs to hold on and keep it in the middle of the road, and I don't think Diziu will be able to do anything. But Seifert looking much more racy. Once again, he gets the inside into Piff Paff, and now approaching grass as he makes contact with the back and somehow manages to save it. And this takes a little bit of the service road on the outside there. So that might be the final chance then for Roy Seifert to get through. So look at Diziu going all over the curb there in the background to try and harry Peter Schumann. And it really is in these tight corners that the Infinity closes up, but down the straights, the Toyotas just pull away. But it looks like
he does have ballast as well. Not much, but he's got some.
Okay. Looks like the Hyundai in the form of Richards. It's going to be a Hyundai 1-2 from Richards and Hartley at the moment as we go into the final 12 seconds of the race. So it looks like everyone's started the final lap now. So Seifert's really only got a couple more opportunities to dive one up the inside of Pascal Eggert as the clock well and truly runs out. And Richards has really only got to do... Let's see where he is on track then. He's coming...
I want to watch him, but I don't want to miss anything.
Yeah, Richards has only got the final couple of corners to go then here. And he's going to take a debut victory then. Oh, well over the curb there. As we see in the background, Seifert and Eggert battling. And Seifert's through. And Diziu is through on Schumann as well. So great moves through Chapman Curve there. We did see the tail end of that. But Rat Richards coming across the line now and win race 1 in Rockingham. And there comes Louis Hartley, well and truly over the curbs there. But he kept the gravel trap drivers at bay with a lot more ballast than it looks like. That's Benton challenging English, who goes a little bit offline. But it's too late here. Benton will not be able to get through. And it looks like gravel trap were very, very sensible here.
Hartley has let English through.
Oh, he has for the championship. So that is interesting. But here comes Pascal. He's not given up whatsoever on trying to overcome Roy Seifert. And what a show these four have put on. But Pascal's not done yet. Is he going to tap Roy Seifert round? Oh, thank goodness he avoided that. And it's just a run to the line now. But Seifert will hold on to that 8th position behind Adabar. And it's going to be Diziu who recovers to round out the top 10 after a really difficult race. So he'll be happy, I think, with that. Getting past Schumann at the end there. Wow,
what a race.
That was pretty. That really shows the strengths of Rockingham. And Pascal Eggert immediately detonates the engine of his. Oh my goodness me! Peter Schumann decides to have a little party there.
Let's look at the winner, shall we?
Yeah, there we go. Matthew Richards. That was very, very impressive there. But he's kind of shown his hand, hasn't he? Strategically, he's not got any more soft tires. He's going to have to use the mediums now, and he's going to have a little bit of success ballast, which will potentially make things tricky. It's going to have a much harder job in race 2, but he still takes the win. He still takes maximum points from race 1 from pole position ahead of Louis Hartley. Championship leader maintains his lead in second from Chris English, who minimises the damage with the help of his teammate Andy Simmons, who graciously, magnanimously let him through there. Then it's Carl Benton in 5th. Igor Studniarek takes a pretty strong finish in 6th position from Adabar. On his debut, finishes 7th in a pretty impressive drive for Moreira. Then it is Roy Seifert who recovers to 8th from Pascal Eggert. Remco de Zoo rounding out the top 10 from Peter Schoenemann. Then it is Neil Greening, our last finisher on the road, and the DNFs. Paul J. Venter, disappointing after such a great start to the race in that battle with Abdebar. Then it is Bouillon, Hood, Ziola, and Moynier are non-finishers, and in the case of Moynier, are non-starter, although hopefully he'll be able to get back on board in time for race 2.
Yep, we're just restarting the server. We'll get going again. I'm just going to pop off for a second, set the grid so you don't hear me whacking my keyboard, so I'll be back in about 5 minutes.
There we go, so definitely the highlight there was probably that battle for 8th position, really. Although, big shout out to Abdebar on his, and of course Matthew Richards, who put in such impressive performances for Scuderia Moreira. And Scuderia Moreira really yet to get their tally off the ground, so I think they'll be happy with 1st and 7th. Only a couple of points from the likes of Chris Hood beforehand. Chris Hood says, by the way, I hit the brakes at the usual spot and the car just went into the wall and I got suspension damage. And he says, I was kind of keeping up, so that's sad. Yep, it is, but I'm sure you'll get used to these rear-wheel drive cars eventually, Chris. Yeah, so no worries, these things happen. Exactly, lots of curves as it happens here at Rockingham. But anyway, I believe fastest lap was set by Matthew Richards in that race, wasn't it? Was it 1:19.6, I think?
I believe so. I've lost
or was that his quali time?
Lost everything now.
Yeah, top speed 242.1 miles kilometers per hour, sorry, for Matthew Richards. How much ballast do you get for winning the race? I don't think you ever told me, Nick.
75 kilos.
The full 75 for winning race 1? Okay, well, then this is going to be a pretty interesting start here into turn 1 for Matthew Richards. Let's see if there's any comments then from people enjoying that battle. Nope, we still got no activity from... Oh, no, there's a few. James Smagasgale saying, I couldn't get into the lobby. Paul Venter says, what an epic roll. So he did roll over, that's true. And Paul Venter says, awesome streaming, gents. Oh, well, nice driving for the first half of that race, Paul. And, it definitely looked to me like Paul had some sort of issue that made him roll over. Either he went over the curb or there was some kind of internet issue that we've been hearing so much about.
We're just going to wait a few minutes for a few people to rejoin the server, namely Loic.
Yeah, there we go. Shall I shoot a message to Loic?
I've already told him. He's on his way.
Alright, sure thing. There we go. Should have a little more faith in my drivers now and again. Even if he seems to be in the wrong way. Apparently he wanted to experiment to compare his lap times in the front-wheel drive and the rear-wheel drive car. Yeah. So it sort of makes sense of how good the front-wheel drive cars went in that race. Although, shout out to Studniarek in 6th, who did a very awesome job there.
Very low-key race. But
well, the big battle was that battle for 8th, really, between Eggert, Schumann, Seifert, and of course that battle between Venter and Abderman was pretty good as well.
For race 2, we've got Roy Seifert with the soft tyre, Paul Venter, Chris English, Kyle Benton, Niall Bullion, Chris Hurd, Andy Simmons,
and Loic Moynier.
Yeah.
There we go. So Simmons, I think, will be one to watch. Who else?
English, definitely. Seifert.
Yeah, English, Simmons, Seifert, and
Greening.
Hunter Birch cars are going to be too far back. Where did Greening finish? Oh, wasn't he...
P12.
P12, just outside the top 10. So Greening could have a good opportunity to make it ground here. Keep an eye on those guys. So I said Remco, nice move on Schumann at the end. He said, wasn't much of a move. He went too wide and lost speed. Thanks, though.
Right, I'll be back in a minute doing the ballast.
Perfect. So that while Nick works out the ballast, let's see if there's any interesting user-generated or donated comments. You don't donate a comment, do you? But, yeah, certainly race 2, it's going to be about whether Hartley and Richards can get good run off the line, and the 2 gravel traps of English and Simmons are going to be big threats here. Especially, you got to say, Chris English starting from 3rd.
with the softs.
With the softs, indeed. And Simmons as well on the softs. And yeah, looks like Moinier's got back into the server in the number 6. The same car that Chris Hood is using. But not a problem, because we can definitely tell them apart somehow. And it'll be interesting. The start is going to be where the drama is, as usual here at Rockingham. It's all about just not avoiding being turned around, I guess. But lots of danger men on the option tyre then. Remember, it's mediums and softs here rather than hards and mediums, of course.
Because he's got an accent in his name, the game does not allow me to set ballast for Adabar.
Ah.
Nice work, R-Factor 2.
Well, you've got to copy the accent somehow.
Yeah, but it displays wrong in the game, so I've got to somehow copy
it's
the
his
wrong
whole fault for having a weird name. First name. Well, I say weird, it's probably not weird to him. Our name's probably a bit weird to him.
Yeah, it's the umlaut that's causing me problems.
Well, I guess we could let Abdurrahman off, I
don't think I've got any choice.
Yeah, he'll be happy with that, because that means that he's exempt from the rule. Everyone is going to get into weird versions of their names now to take advantage of this exploit in R-Factor 2. So, there you go, interesting. Well, that's the sort of thing that Nick has to deal with behind the scenes, ladies and gentlemen, as well as when everyone just gets disconnected and the race just can't start at all, as we saw at Mont Tremblant, with it being cancelled, of course. And you have to say, Drivers' Championship, I really don't see Louis Hartley being beaten at this phase with only 5 races left to go, including a Croft at the end of the season.
It only takes one disastrous round, and
but he's over. He's got to be. He would have gained another 2 or 3 points then on Chris English.
About 45 points the difference, I think, and it's 20 for a win. So
yeah. Well, I think Louis is doing everything right at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah.
But of course, it means Chris English officially moves up into second place with the Miros not scoring any points due to having basically gotten frustrated with the way the cars handle and deciding not to do the series anymore, which is a shame. But we do, of course, see Mir in action in many other series, such as Le Mans Virtual, and she's doing something at the moment with Queen's Esports, which looked pretty cool.
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter. I didn't see what it was.
There's another endurance category, I believe. Or was it GT racing? Those are the 2 main ones that she does, and does them very well, in fact. In fact, since we're bored, I can go have a look. Have a peek then.
Just waiting for Bjorn to rejoin the server without the accent in his name. Poor guy.
Poor guy. He has to change his name to suit you, to suit this. Here we go. Yeah, so Miro says yesterday, having a good old crack at the Screen to Speed tournament. iRacing isn't my sim, but so far in a position to make it. Still another month until quali closes low, so we'll see how it stands. Time to grab a passport then. And it's a picture of her in a NASCAR.
I've always wanted to try a bit of NASCAR, but it usually
I'll tell you who's really good at NASCARs in R-Factor 2, Jake Dennehan. Do you remember him, Nick?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, he not only did he win the Formula Sim Racing NASCAR Pro Cup, Stock Car Pro Cup against drivers like he did get 2 second places, and it was a pretty short series with like only 5 or 6 rounds, admittedly. But he did beat the likes of Jan Vosnica, Arda Erchan, Fabian Ballet, all really good sort of oval specialists, and of course Jene Simonchik is of course the. Well, Jene only did about 2 or 3 rounds, but of the 6, but it was a great championship. It was great to see Denahan really excelling because, of course, we saw him in endurance driving for Iris a couple of years ago, and he had some very, very good races. Like Sebring, there's one stage where him and Mia Rose were like swapping the lead a few times in LMP2, and then they both hit trouble and Mugen won, as happens so often in endurance. Although it won't be the case next season with Mugen effectively having officially disbanded and formed into a different, or sort of abandoned the EERC at least.
Yeah, Mugen have. I said they weren't racing anymore, but then I saw them racing somewhere. So.
Well, no, it's a different Mugen. It's just they use the same name, but it's a different team. It's a sort of a Team Lotus kind of thing.
Ah, okay, yeah.
But well, where they just resurrect the brand, and it's the.
I'd also like to point out while we're waiting. Louis and Loic have a bet on of whoever. Let me get this right. It's whoever scores the most points between Scuderia Maria and Finavant in this event has to have a giant chicken nugget on their car for the next round.
Okay. Is that why Paul has got the bananas on his car? Did he fail a different bet?
It must be.
Oh, does he just like bananas? Anyway, that does sound interesting. But Loic, of course, my driver, but the manager of Scuderia Maria, just to avoid confusion. And Loic is pretty fired up, so let's hope he has a good recovery in this race too from the back of the grid before. Or if he does finish far down the grid, at least it means that he'll have a better chance of getting to the front in the reverse grid. Although it'll be a full reverse grid, I think, because there's only 17 drivers. And it's the top 18.
Yes, so it's 10th to 18th. We usually do reverse.
With the pole being random of the top 18.
Yeah, so it could be anywhere between P10 and P18. Could be on pole.
If it lands on 18 and nobody finishes 18th because there's only 17 drivers, what happens?
Then
last place driver.
Yeah, it will be full grid.
Yeah, so.
But we are waiting for an extra driver.
Okay, we'll have the full 18 then. The full 18, I make it sound like.
Well, the full grid will be 30, so.
That's true. A lot of people signed up and didn't show up.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Although a couple did mention why they had to drop out.
Yeah, we're doing better than last season.
That's for sure. Even with Kings. That's good, because even with Kings dropping out, and it was sort of with a lot of them being like real life commentators, and with like Formula E this weekend in Mexico, so it was sort of inevitable. We got some news about Mexico, by the way, Nick. I don't know if you know.
I do know.
About Josh's. Oh, you do know. So Josh has got Mark Preston, formerly of the Techeetah Formula E team, is going to come on to the broadcast. That's going to be quite cool. And it's quite funny because he said, "Oh, I've never been on this side of the fence before," because he was with Team Aguri beforehand as well. So he's been at all 100 races that Team Aguri and Techeetah did. So this is going to be the first race ever that he's actually had to watch as a spectator and not a participant, as a sort of team owner or manager. Okay. So he's like, "Oh, where are all the streams and how do I actually watch it on Channel 4, YouTube, and whatever?"
That's going to be very, very...
Look, is that Loic messing about in the pit lane while he's waiting? He's bumping... that looks like Igor he's bumping. Or is that the number 11? Yeah, that's Igor Staniarek. I couldn't tell whether it was Loic or Chris Hurd because they both run the number 6 now.
Okay, we're moving on then.
Finally, there we go. I think I did an okay job of filling there. It did take a while to get Abdebar in without the umlaut in his name.
We've now got Jacques Vermeulen as well.
Yeah, Vermeulen. He's a great driver.
He's here after his electricity came back on.
Hooray! Well, somebody in South Africa is smiling at us, that's for sure. And it's definitely Jack Vermeulen. Right, so Logistical Nightmare have got, how many cars in now? At least 2? With Paul J. Venter and Vermeulen?
Vermeulen, Greening, Bullion.
Oh, that's 4 then, sorry.
They have got 9. We're halfway there. Right.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So, we just wait for Simmons to be put onto pole position then. Not Simmons, I'm forgetting the new guy's name. Matthew Richards, of course. Wait for Matthew Richards to take pole position. Not Simmons is the gravel trap guy. He starts in 4th, of course. But it'll be Louis Hartley 2nd, Chris English 3rd, So keep your eyes on that action at the front, people, because that's where it's going to be. But we could see a lot of mixing it up in the midfield as well, with those who got spun around in the first race starting to charge through the field again. And those who also didn't start the first race charging through the field as well.
Not pointing any fingers.
Yeah, I wonder if this open, almost free wide grid sort of encourages contact into Dean Corner.
It's almost like a MotoGP grid, isn't it?
It's almost 4 wide actually. Now that I actually see the other row materializing,
it's horrible to look at that. I can just imagine what's about to happen.
The shame they also emulated the sparse crowds here at Rockingham in the background as well, which is one of the reasons why the circuit no longer is used. Not enough people showed up to the races. But anyway, here we go. The grid's populating now, and soon Matthew Richards will be setting us off from Louis Hartley and Chris English then. So the two title protagonists are right behind him. Here we go then. In 8 seconds, we'll be getting going. So it's Richards on the inside, Hartley next to him, and then the two gravel traps behind. We're about to get going for race 2 in Rockingham, and we're away. And another decent start for Richards, but it's Hartley on the outside challenging as they go through turn 1 side by side. Here we go, the big Saltaire on the top of Louis Hartley's car. He wants to get another win under his belt, but Matthew Richards, even with all that ballast, determined not to let him through. Here we go. Is he going to break deep on the inside? Indeed he does, and Hartley is pushed wide as, that's Abderman being spun around there. Oh dear. And Bjorn Abdebar is facing the wrong way at turn 1.
Oh no, that's Ziola.
Yes, that's Ziola facing the wrong way as well. So, and that's again...
English is in the lead.
But English takes the lead from Louis Hartley there round the outside at Chapman Corner. And that looks like Simmons holding on from Richards as well. So Richards having a really bad first couple of corners then with all that ballast.
And the hard tyres.
Looks also like the Hunter Burt simulation cars have not had a brilliant start either. Because Desir has dropped all the way down behind Ziola. And a big crash there. And that looks like one of the others involved as well. Chris Hood being caught up in Chapman Curve somewhere as well. And Moynier is actually up to 9th from the very back of the grid.
Did they break rule 1? I hope they didn't hit each other. For your sake.
Oh, well, it looks like they just avoided hitting each other. But it's Chris English now looking to gain some points back on Louis Hartley. Remember, he's got slightly less ballast, having not only finished behind in that previous race, but also behind in the championship to the tune of 45 points.
Hartley definitely sent it a bit through the chicane there.
Indeed. But... and there is that looks like Moynier holding off Greening and now closing down on Pascal Eggert. So once again,
Venter's gone for a spin.
Oh dear, Paul J. Venter more difficult. That's Piff Paff. He's got it wrong. He went the wrong way. No, that's not Piff Paff. That's just before the final chicane, and he's let Abdebar through. And look at this, Louis Hartley trying to go around the outside of Richard. And Louis Hartley goes off track, and that's a big mistake from the championship leader. Richards is going to go around the outside of him. Do they make contact into Chapman Curve? Oh dear, and just about Richards gets back through onto the podium then.
Hartley's going to have dirty tyres as well now.
Yes, and here we are. We can't see the name graphic at the bottom, but that's Peter Schumann fighting Loic Moynier for 8th position, with Schumann currently in 9th, and just having, because Loic Moynier's not had that much practice, having missed race 1, so he's sort of found himself in the thick of things and desperately trying to avoid all the drama. As Eggert goes off in front of them, but Schumann goes even further off track, and that lets Neil Greening have a little go as Moynier locks up into Tarzan, and Eggert goes wide. So here once again, there's a huge battle for 8th place, but the leaders still squabbling amongst each other. Roy Seifert has sort of found himself making a break for it in 6th, and here we go, the battle for the lead. It's Simmons fighting English with Richards holding off Louis Hartley and Benton.
Yeah, Matt Richards, he lost quite a lot of time at the start, but he's got into the rhythm now.
Well, that mistake from Louis Hartley certainly helped. Louis Hartley will be kicking himself over that, because that second position kind of squandered there.
I'm not sure if he fell or if he was pushed, so to speak.
Yeah, it looked from the outside like a bit of a mistake, as here comes Schoenman challenging down the inside of Loic Moynier for 8th position. Moynier locks up, and is he going to be able to hold on here? No, he goes wide and on the grass, and that's Peter Schumann through. Neil Greening is going to challenge as well. Can Loic Moynier hold his nerve through the inside here? And Neil Greening's going to try and go around the outside. That's ambitious and a half. But they're just gone over. And a bit of a bump there from Moynier. Moynier really forcefully defended his position there, and that's through Chapman Curve as well. And it's Yentwood who's the corner just before. Sorry, not Chapman.
4 cars for the podium.
Yeah, here we go. So, but this is like Chris English make a big break for it now. Look at this mistake from Richards, and that could allow Hartley up the inside into Tarzan. Oh, he's having a little nibble at him, and they make contact. But, and they're hitting the side again. So these two, no love lost between them, and Richards holds his line. So Louis Hartley's going to be stranded on the outside, but he switches to the inside, dives late on the brakes, and climbs all over the curb and pushes Matt Richards off track. And that potentially allows Carl Benton to get involved here as well. And Richards, having cut the chicane, could be in trouble here. Here comes Carl Benton then. Up the inside of Louis Hartley. Didn't they go through turn one? Is Hartley going to sweep across? Oh my goodness me. Side by side they go, and Benton is through, I think. But he's got to be able to brake late enough on the inside. Seifert is closing on the both of them now. Louis Hartley goes wide to try and get the cutback through Dean Curve. But it's too late. Another Gravel Trap car has made it through. So now first, second and fourth belong to Gravel Trap Racing.
I don't want to say anything without watching it back, but it looked to me as though Richards didn't really have anywhere else to go apart from across the tracks.
Yeah, I felt that was a desperate maneuver there from Louis Hartley, certainly, to sort of get back ahead of
and he's paid the
Matt
price
Richards.
for that a little bit now because he has got Mr. Seifert right behind him.
But we'll see how the steward to make him pay an even bigger price. We'll have to see. But Seifert, who's recovered brilliantly from the difficulties he endured at the start of race one, is now right on the tail of Louis Hartley, and that's Schumann not far behind either, just having not broken away completely from Moynier. There's about a second between the two. But the top 10 still within about 9 seconds then or so.
As
11
Desiu's
seconds.
retired.
Oh dear, so Desiu in more difficulties, and it looks like Chris Hood's having trouble as well, as Vermeulen is out, and Roy Seifert really cutting the little twiddly chicane at the end there. He went almost 4 wheels off track there, I think.
The game didn't give him an excursion, though.
Yeah, definitely 2 wheels off.
Yeah.
But it certainly hasn't hurt him too much there, and he's still right on the back of Louis Hartley, as English still leading by 1.6 seconds from his teammate Andy Simmons, and now Richard's all over the back of Simmons. It's Richard Simmons, famous Hollywood actor.
I wonder if Simmons is trying to keep them away from English a bit.
A little bit, because you got Benton trying to get involved in this as well. He would really like that Scuderia Marrera car not to be in between them, because then it could be a clean sweep of the podium for Gravel Trap, which we've yet to see. A Seifert closing inexorably on the back of Louis Hartley. Seifert's, I think, got a lot less ballast than Hartley.
I think you did it at Fuji last year, didn't you?
Did what? Sorry.
Clean sweep.
Oh, we did, yes, top 3, yes, but that was with a severely smaller field, admittedly.
And the Subaru.
And 3 amazing drivers in the form of Mia Rose, Liam Rance, and Alessandro Valente, all of whom have had to move on, sadly. Although Valente and Rance not being able to show up in the first place sort of means they kind of had to be replaced, and Mia Rose didn't want it, so it was sort of inevitable.
You can thank Andy Simmons and the Gravel Trap team for that, because they made that car.
Oh, well, that was very kind of them to make the Subaru. So I guess now we seem to be handing them this championship on a plate, unfortunately. But look at this, Seifert getting really close to the back of Louis Hartley, and Hartley having to go to the inside to defend. Here we go. Is there going to be a move into Dean Corner? Seifert gets right into the slipstream. Oh, my goodness me. That's one way of defending, isn't it? Bumping off the wall and having a weird disconnection moment. And Seifert once again hits the back at Dean Corner of Louis Hartley, as Richards finds himself still in that Gravel Trap sandwich, and Seifert stranded on the outside through, I nearly said Yentwood. I nearly said Yarlswood there, and Seifert up the inside of through Chapman Corner, and Louis Hartley completely defenseless there.
I wonder if he's damaged himself in...
With that, there was heavy contact at the side with Richards,
Should we have a look
but
at
there
his
was also
steering?
that lagging moment as well with the wall into the first corner, or second corner rather. As somebody kicked up a lot of dust there. That was one of the Gravel Traps, I think. Harley doesn't look too bad. There might have been a bit of a suspension potentially damaged.
Difficult to tell.
We don't know if that was lag on our end or lag for Louis Hartley as well, but it certainly seemed to hold up the King's card, didn't it? Of Seifert, as once again Richards really pushing Simmons. He's put in a great showing despite being on the wrong tyres.
Chris Hood DNFs.
Oh dear, another one bites the dust as Matt Richards lets Carl Benton through into the top 3. That was weird.
I wonder if he cut the chicane and gained an advantage. Has Loix had an issue? Oh dear.
Oh dear, it's going all pear-shaped for Hunter Bird Simulation, isn't it? It's Loic Mini finds himself facing the wrong way on the start-finish straight, which is unusual.
I don't know how he
Down in 12th position he goes. But, yeah, so...
It was on the exit. It's
Chris
Hartley DNFs.
Oh dear, Louis Hartley, championship leader, out of the race. So some disconnection issue must have gotten much worse there. Or there was contact with Roy Seifert, but Seifert had just gotten through. And it looked like Hartley had started to lose touch with him. So I think that happened to Hartley on his own, or there was some kind of other factor at play. Yeah, but Seifert now closing to the back of Richards.
It's not a great idea to DNF.
Oh, Richards dives up the inside of Carl Benton. Carl Benton caught a little bit napping there, and through goes.
He's got the cutback.
Richards. But here we go. As you say, he's got the cutback as Carl Benton, but he's going to be on the outside. I think Richards is really going to defend the inside here as they go into that last chicane. Don't cut it this time, Matt Richards. And this time, oh, they both lift the wheels, but it's clean. And Richards really holding them up and backing them into the King's car of Seifert. And here we go. Seifert's got a pretty decent run, but Carl Benton, with so much less ballast on board, has got even more momentum to play with here. He's going to go right into the slipstream as they go through that bank, turn one, building up speed inexorably, pulling to the outside. Is he going to be able to sweep around or cut back? Here we go. He breaks a bit earlier and tries to get a better line up the inside. There we go. That was great opportunism there from Carl Benton. Set that one up perfectly. But Richards still not dealt with yet. He goes at the inside into Yarlswood. Not Yarlswood. That's a detention centre. Into Chapman Corner. Here they go. Still side by side. Roy Seifert licking his lips then as these two do battle ahead of him. Can Seifert get in front of Richards as well? Oh, he spins him round into pit path. Oh, dear. And they both get held up there. So that was... That was a little bit wrong time, wrong place there for Roy Seifert.
I think that was really 3 into 1, don't go.
So there we go. That was great defensive driving there from Carl Benton there, as Simmons has started to slowly catch up to English.
I think Hartley disconnected.
Oh, he disconnected. That's really bad luck for our championship leader. And you said it yourself. It takes one DNF to really blow things wide open.
Now this has ruined his race 3 because he won't be in reverse grid contention either.
No, he won't. But neither, of course, will Dizu, Hood, or Vermeulen at the moment. Look at this. Roy Seifert still climbing the curb, still all over the back of Matt Richards, looking to demote him down to 4th position. He's got a great run here. Is he going to get him as they go towards turn 1? Here we go. He's got the wheel alongside. Can he get fully alongside and sweep it in? Well, Matt Richards turn on in, and Matt Richards robustly defending there. And Roy Seifert thinking, oh, I've already had a bit of awkward contact. I don't want to do that again. 5.5 minutes left in this race, mind you. Roy Seifert could still sneak himself onto the podium here if he can deal with Matt Richards quickly, because Carl Benton's not that far up ahead.
Yeah, there's only 5 minutes of the race left, so that's probably 4 laps.
Certainly. Is Seifert on the... Is he on the mediums as well?
Seifert is... I've got the spreadsheet. Where is Seifert? He is on the options.
Oh, he's up the inside into pit path. Oh, that was nearly a rerun of before. So actually, is Roy Seifert on the better tyre. So it's actually Richards doing the best of the medium runners at the moment.
All the gravel trap cars as well are on the options.
Well, that will make race 3 interesting, because I think Remco and the rest of the field are the only ones that are still on got the options to go.
And all the final Von cars. So Louis Hartley does have the soft and no ballast to potentially make his way through, but he's in the thick of it.
Indeed, with the 200 birches behind, looking to... well, we'll start behind at least. But here we go. Seifert now has got to set himself up on, once again, climbing the curb for the back straight. Getting into the slipstream of the Scuderia Mirai number 4 of Richards. But you have to say, Gravel Trap have managed this to perfection. English making a break for it and has held Simmons off really well.
I think Gravel Trap have got a great strategy, really. Get near the front in race 1 and then be the only ones using...
Oh, here we go. Defensive from Matt Richards, and Roy Seifert's going to have to go around the outside. Can he get the better line as they approach into Yentwood? Not quite. He's still a little bit too far back. So now into Chapman Curve and Piff Paff they go. And Seifert getting a little bit frustrated, I think, as we see that look like a Moynier in the background chasing down Bouillon for 10th. So it looks like another disappointing run for Underbird Simulation.
Oh, Seifert got wide.
Oh dear, little mistake for Seifert, but no harm done there. And it definitely looks like Benton is still struggling here, because he's sort of slowly... He's not really pulling away from Richards at the moment.
I wonder if he's just...
And English has actually started to pull 3 seconds now on Andy Simmons. So Simmons, who I think has done a really good job, actually, is struggling to keep up with his teammate Chris English.
And the championship's turned on its head a little bit in this race.
Yeah, it has. Not for any fault of Louis Hartley's own, of course, with that disconnection. But that means English is going to gain, what, about 20 points? 25 points?
Yeah.
So the gap could be down to the gap that it was in the team's championship going in between Hunter Birch and Gravel Trap. It's now going to be the drivers' championship gap between Chris English and Louis Hartley. But here we go. Seifert closing again. And oh, look at this. That was nearly in the back of Carl Benton for Matt Richards. And he had to really get out of it there. And that lets Roy Seifert through into fourth place. Releases the King's driver to challenge Carl Benton for that third place with 2.5 minutes, just over 2.5 minutes left remaining.
I think they were going for a battle of the late breakers and there was another car there.
Yeah, I don't think Benton really meant to get involved there.
No, I don't think he did. I think he was just taking his normal line and suddenly...
Yeah, here we go. There's Pascal Eggert holding off Greening. Greening's actually had a really good run, as has Pascal for that matter. Just been able to hold on here after he had a really difficult end to the first race, where he was just under attack from Roy Seifert.
Studniarek in 8th as well. He's having quite a good race. As
Big spin for Ziola, as we were just praising him from coming back, I guess. And Venter. So there's a Ziola-Venter private battle at the back to not finish last then.
Well, the last might be pole, so...
Oh, you never know. Number 42, could that be the unlucky number, or will it be the number 77? We'll have to see. Is once again in this battle for the podium, which has been a real highlight so far. They all mount the curb at that final little Singapore Sling-esque kind of chicane, isn't it?
Go.
Yep. Here we go onto the back straight, onto the first corner then. Roy Seifert immediately on the back of Carl Benton. I think Seifert's coming through, like it or not, in the 71, isn't he? He pulls to the outside, needs to get his line right. Carl Benton goes immediately into defensive mode, gets hit in the back there. There we go. That was another good defensive maneuver from Carl Benton. Forces Seifert to have to go the long way around.
They won that 1, 2, 3.
Well over the curve from Seifert into Yentwood. I need to mentally reprogram myself to stop calling it Yarlswood.
Don't write Richards off either.
Oh, that's certainly not. Is that Schumann getting in front of Bouillon for 9th? I think Bouillon has hit trouble. Here is Ziola battling with Venter, so Venter's got through up the inside.
That looked like he would let him through.
I think also Ziola being in the rear-wheel drive car has got a slight disadvantage as well. But here we go. The battle for third raging on then between Benton, Seifert and Richards with 40 seconds remaining. One more lap to go. As it looks like Eggert is under attack from Greening as well for 6th position, but able to hold on for the time being. But it looks like Benton was under real pressure in that battle for third. Here he is with the King's car all over the back of him. Seifert has just had a real monster of a run here in race 2, hasn't he? Going from
near the back.
He start 8th after beating Pascal in race 2, and he's got up down charging for third, but he's on the wrong line here. Benton once again defends the inside, forces Roy Seifert to really go where he doesn't want to be, a no man's land on the outside, and could potentially Matt Richards challenge. Not quite, as we run out of time on the clock. There is Pascal keeping the logistical nightmare of Greening at bay. It's Bouillon holding off Moynier, who's recovering from his spin, to try and get another lowly top 10 Vanderbilt simulation. It must be said, they kind of hope to maybe get top 6, top 5 after that great qualifying from Remco de Zieu, but once again, it looks like Vanderbilt either taking each other out or being taken out. We didn't quite see what happened. And oh, look at this, Seifert really all over the back of Benton like a cheap suit, but he's not going to have many more opportunities here. Can he get the run? Going a little bit on the grass there through Tarzan.
It's got to be on the exit of the chicane.
Yeah, here we go then. So it's all going to be about that run to the line, but Chris English now coming through, approaching the final corner as Seifert all over the back. But it's not going to be enough, I don't think. I think Carl Benton is going to make it a gravel trap. 1, 2, 3. Chris English crosses the line, swerves, and it's victorious. But here comes Carl Benton just holding off Roy Seifert for third with Simmons in second. So gravel trap, complete the clean sweep. But Bouillon attacks Loic Mounier as well. And Mounier is not quite going to be able to catch Schoenemann here. But Schoenemann has slowed down a lot as Bouillon locks up heavily. Pascal holds on to 6th position in the Affinavond. But here we go, run to the line. Can Loic Mounier catch Peter Schoenemann at the death here? Here we go. I think Schoenemann is just going to be able to hold on. But it was very close between the two. So good effort there from Loic Mounier to finish in 10th and finish ahead of Bouillon. But there's Abdabar having to rename himself and put on the extra ballast. It certainly hurt him there as we saw him being spun around too.
Poor guy, yeah.
But there we go, 12th. So not quite as good as race 1. As you see, Venter getting a finish under his belt, which is, I guess, a mercy for him. And I was getting a replay being sent to me from Chris Hood of so looked like one of the so there was an incident between, looks like Eggert, one of the SZ racing cars, I think Studniarek spinning, and all 4 of them sort of came a cropper.
Okay.
And one of the Finnavons, it might have been Schumann or Eggert, spun Chris Hood around after Chris had avoided that initial incident. So yeah, just horrific luck there for both Hunter Birches. But anyway, let's go through the finishing order. Do you want to do it, Nick, or shall I?
I'll set the grid, so if you want to go through it.
Fair enough. So Chris English takes his second win of the season, his first since Frexton earlier on. Race 3 in Frexton, race 2, and it's not Anglesey, like the result sheet suggests. It's actually Rockingham, of course, from his teammate Andy Simmons and his other teammate of Carl Benton. So a brilliantly managed race from gravel track to take maximum points and really steal a march in the team's championship, but also close crucial ground to an unlucky Louis Hartley in the Drivers' Championship. Royce Seifert just misses out on the podium in 4th from Matt Richards, Pascal Eggert, Neil Greening, Igor Studniarek 8th, Peter Schumann 9th, and Loic Moynier rounds out the top 10 for Hunter Birch Simulation. So certainly some great performances from those in the top 8. Narbulian 11th from Bjorn Adibar. Paul J. Venter 13th from our last finisher, Adam Ziola. Then it's Louis Hartley who got disconnected. Chris Hood, who got... and Remco de Zoo both got taken out near the start, and Jack Vermeulen, of course, who also got involved in a separate accident too and was unable to complete race 2. But now race 3 beckons.
Got the reverse grid draw.
Let's find out who's going to be on pole then.
If I can get the thing to work, that is.
I can choose one of my drivers at random if you'd like.
Yeah.
But I guess the only one who would be available is Loic Moynier because he finished, if he's only finished race 2. Oh, yeah, I'm seeing a green square on my end. Or your end, sorry.
Right, there we go.
Okay, right. Spin the wheel. The wheel of destiny.
The last place finish was Ziola in, was it 14th?
Correct.
So he is the lowest placed driver that can take pole. Anything above 14th will be a Ziola pole. And that 10th.
That would be Loic Moynier then.
Yeah.
For Hunter Birch Simulations. So let's recap who's got the soft tyres at their disposal for race 3. Remco de Zoo, who will start near the back. Igor Studniarek, who I believe will start 8th or 9th. Maxim Petravsky is not here. Jack Vermeulen, who will start right at the back. Loic Moynier, who will start on pole position, will get the soft tyres, so that's lucky. Did he change to race 3? I could have sworn it was race 2 that we chosen for Loic.
He did make some changes, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's lucky. Because, yeah, the race 2 is a bit of a nightmare, and race 1 he didn't even start. Adam Ziola will get the options for race 3. Thomas McHugh would, but he's not here. Anthony Wilson, also not here, so he won't get to use him. Louis Hartley, as we mentioned earlier, will get the options for race 3. Pascal Eggert, Peter Schumann, and Bjorn Abdibar will all get the options for race 3. So, yeah, quite a few big hitters then. So the big ones to watch out for are definitely going to be... obviously, Loic Moynier on pole on the softs, Pascal Eggert, and who else? Probably. I'm gonna say if Studniarek as well. I think might be one to watch too.
Right, I'll set the grid and I'll be right back.
Okay. And Loic saying he's definitely going to protest Peter Schumann. I'm not sure. Is that for?
There was that time that Loic was backwards on the straight maybe it was.
So he thinks Peter spun him.
I'd guess that's it. I don't know, but that's the only
Like
time.
also not sounding too confident. He says, "This car for real. It's horrendous to drive." So everyone, when I was picking the car, said, "Yeah, let's go rear-wheel drive because it's so much easier to drive." And now I've got a completely different team of drivers who all seem to hate this car. So that really explains why things have fallen apart here.
He might think differently on the
next few races
and on the soft tyres.
Well, that's true. We'll see, but. Certainly pole position doesn't hurt either, but we'll see if he can hold it into turn 1 because who's going to be behind him? It's going to be Chris English and Simmons and Benton, isn't it? All of them are going to be on the mediums.
So it's Loic, Peter, Studniarek, Greening, Egger, Richards.
Oh, it's reverse, of course, yeah.
Benton, Simmons, English.
Yeah, well, having Peter right behind him will certainly not be of much comfort.
Right, well, I think we're just going to go.
Yeah, well, that would be...
We lost some time last race, so we'll make up for it now. Let me get rid of this and get your nice driver box before the race starts for once.
Yeah, that's just a nice little bonus, I guess, to be able to see who we're looking at. But you can usually most guess. The other thing is also you've got teams like Gravel Trap who seem to change liveries now and again.
Right.
Which helps a little bit with the different colours. So, here we go. Maybe 100-bet simulation can salvage something from this race in the form of Loic Moynier, but Louis Hartley is going to be very interesting to watch in this race.
We've got 10 people watching.
Oh, let's see what they're actually saying in the chat, because I've not been looking at that recently. Loic Moynier says, watch me in race 2 and 3. Oh, I certainly will. Louis says, nice server disconnect, but I'm still in Discord. So it certainly felt like a server issue for Hartley rather than his internet failing him. Yeah, that was a big shame for Louis, though, because he could have got some decent... It was a bit of a messy race before that, though, so I think on the soft he'll be looking to make amends down in 15th position for Louis Hartley. Though.
Right.
There we go. But here we go. So it's going to be Loic Moynier on the inside, Peter Schumann on the outside, and Studniarek and Greening on the second row behind them. Here we go. Race 3, the final race of the day at Rockingham, about to get going. We're about to see the mother of all melees into turn 1. As Chris Hood immediately gets a penalty for 100-bet simulation to cap off a miserable weekend. But there we go. Horrible start for Schumann, and that lets Igor Studniarek through. So it's an Infinity 1-2 at the moment. But who's that? It's Matt Richards, who's got himself up into third immediately ahead of Peter Schumann, and now challenging Studniarek. It's all big lockup for Loic Moynier in the lead as everyone congests, and as Chris English and Louis Hartley side by side as they battle over 10th position. Oh, Louis Hartley nearly lost it there, hitting the side of Chris English. And here we go. This is going to be the difficult part. English side by side with Carl Benton through the Yentwood. And now Chapman curve once again side by side with Louis Hartley is Carl Benton, but this time Louis Hartley is able to hold on as just hits the back through Piff Paff. Big crash there, and that's one of the 100 Birches involved, and that must be Studniarek spinning around as they go 3 wide through the exit onto the turn 8 straight of course Grasslands. And now into Tarzan, but it is Studniarek going again with a rear wing missing. And now English up the inside of that Seifert. And
Simmons.
Oh dear, big mistake there for Andy Simmons. Collected by Abderman in the Scuderia Marrera entry.
Hartley's already up to 5th.
Egger has got himself up to 3rd somehow, but it's still Moynier leading Richards by 0.4 of a second. So Richards having an amazing start from 6th or 7th on the grid there, getting up into 2nd place. And that's Chris Hood, who's already got that penalty hanging over him, having to let the SZ car through. But Moynier holds on to the lead from the Scuderia Marrera car. Of course, his own team, Matt Richards. So let's see how hard he defends this. Fingers crossed. The rear. That looked really dodgy there from Moynier. The rear just stepping out on him. And that's Pascal Eggert going wide. Now Peter Schumann all over him. So it's Finn Avond. 3, 4, and 5 at the moment. Hartley, being able to defend from the gravel trap cars, has been able to get himself up into 5th position. And English now holding on from Roy Seifert with Benton in 8th and Diziu in 9th. So Diziu actually having a pretty decent recovery. But here we go. Peter Schumann challenging Pascal Eggert. We've seen this before, haven't we?
It doesn't always end well.
No, they are teammates in the very literal sense. They're both Finavon white drivers with the white wing mirrors. And here we go. Schumann is going to try and go around the outside into Tarzan, as it looks like Roy Seifert is challenging English behind as well. But Pascal Eggert once again goes wide, and Schumann will just neatly slip through. And that's third place on the podium for Peter Schumann.
Hartley.
And Louis Hartley, he really doesn't want these two to hold him up. And of course, they aren't on the same team. But Eggert doesn't fight too hard. Here we go. They make a little bit of contact, though, and Eggert has to go off track to avoid Louis Hartley. Hartley could be in trouble. But Pascal Eggert bumps Louis Hartley in the rear. Hartley up to fourth now.
Hartley bogged down a bit on the exit there. I think Pascal was expecting him to be travelling
Moynier
a bit
sits
faster.
best lap of the race, but he's only 2 tenths ahead of Richards. He's having to really drive on his wing mirrors here to keep the Scuderia mirror at bay. And we'll have to keep an eye on that battle, as now Louis Hartley's got Peter Schumann to fight with, but Seifert now trying to go round the outside of Chris English. And we saw him denied in race 2, but now he wants his revenge on the gravel trap drivers.
It's proven to be quite hard to follow everything. So
Yeah, Desir is now in challenging Benton as well for 8th as well, but there's Boulian. Boulian, who's just recovering from an off-track moment, and both of his logistical nightmare teammates have gotten past him. Richards all over the back of Loic Moynier, but these two setting decent pace here. Moynier, he sort of knows Richards quite well, I think, and is able to sort of, trying to anticipate his moves. These two really don't want to run into each other because I think they're good friends. But we got the private battle here. Schumann really having to defend, but here comes Louis Hartley, and Peter Schumann would be wise not to fight that one too hard. Hartley up into third position, the championship leader, doing well to sort of fight back and recover after a really disappointing disconnection in race 2. And now he's got 2 cars in between himself and Chris English. A little mistake from Louis Hartley, which lets Peter Schumann close back in on him. Schumann isn't going to let him away with that one. Look at the sparks as they go over the banking there. So that really shows how low these cars run, as Moynier sets another fastest lap and gains another 10th on Richards, but that's not enough to feel comfortable, is it?
No, not at all. That's dive bomb distance.
Indeed, here we go. But Moynier once again locks up heavily into Dean Corner and keeps at bay. Matthew Richards really having a superb weekend, isn't he?
Up the road, those two already. As Seifert and English having a battle.
Yeah, here we go. This could a little bump in the side as Roy Seifert really keeps it on the island, but having to brake so late, that could let Chris English come back through into Chapman Curve. They go side by side. Is he going to push Roy Seifert off track? No, he leaves enough room, and that looks like Desir having a go at Benton right behind, as all these 4 hold each other up. And that lets the top 5 break away. But Desir getting very involved here now. Somebody went off ahead of them. And that's Pascal Eggert, is it? Oh, dear. Pascal Eggert drops down to 9th position then. So that's a bit of disappointment. He was right behind Schumann in 5th. As that looks like Moynier dropping behind Richards in the battle for the lead. And Seifert side by side with Schumann. So that's Matthew Richards takes the lead from Loic Moynier. So that would be disappointing for Moynier being on the soft tyres. Richards is on the mediums, let's not forget. So that really shows how well that Scuderia Mirror entry's going. He got a great run. But let's see what the pace is going to be like. That Infinity, clearly really difficult to drive for Moynier. So Moynier now has just really got to consolidate that second position, because Hartley is only 3 seconds down the road. But Matthew Richards certainly will be trying to pull away now on those harder tyres, which he might be able to do. But here's Seifert now up into 5th position, holding off the gravel truck cars. And Desir comes storming in as English goes very wide indeed. And that's going to let Peter... who's that coming back through? Eggert, of course, who we just saw go off. And it looks like the gravel traps are swapping positions there, with Benton going alongside English, but English held him off.
Yeah, bear in mind, English, 75 kilos on that car. He's going to be struggling.
Indeed, especially after having won race 2. But English really trying to limit the damage that Hartley can do here. As Remco Desir does well to avoid the wall somehow at Piff Paff. But certainly not going quite to plan for Remco. This all 3 races really.
I'll tell you that Chris heard the start light sound twice, and it wouldn't let him serve the stop and go, so he is out of the race.
That really sums up Chris Hood's miserable day, isn't it? But anyway, we got a bit of experience, I guess. Maybe he'll do better at one of the better rear-wheel drive
the next
tracks.
track is East London, which is... Is it? Yeah, it is. Which is mostly straights.
Okay, well, another one where the rear-wheel drive cars will struggle, I guess. And the gravel tracks will no doubt do more clean sweeps as we go into the last 10 minutes.
Ballast will be a killer at East London.
Oh, that's very true, though. But here we go. 10 minutes remaining then. As that looks like... Eggert now fighting Carl Benton, as Loic Moynier still keeping up with Richards to his credit, but not quite able to make the most of those soft tyres. I think Louis Hartley might catch before the end as Eggert gets through past Benton, but Benton holds the inside, and Eggert has to now let Remco de Zoo back through.
As Bullion's been overtaken by Ziola.
Yeah, Ziola having a decent recovery here, and that's actually Simmons down in 16th, who's really had a messy race through, hasn't he? Possibly nursing damage too, so this could be the worst race of the three for Gravel Trap, even though they're running at the moment. Let's see, in both were two cars in the top 7, in 6th and 7th.
Simmons can still get in the points if he gets to P15. I saw Richards does a bit of a slide.
Yeah, but Loic Mounier struggling to get the power down as well.
Formula drift.
Indeed, but certainly keeping Richards very, very honest indeed. You've got to think Loic Mounier will fancy his chances of stealing the win back. Oh, as he really puts 2 wheels well and truly on the grass there. This could be a good run here, but this is where the Infinity's really weak compared to the Hyundai, and Loic was actually testing both cars, so he does have a little bit of experience. That's probably why he was able to hold on to the lead for as long as he did, but that's a new best lap of the race for Richards, which really shows how much he was being held up here. Yeah, they're both going to be on the push to pass a little bit, but I suspect, knowing he's a bit weaker, Mounier might save a little bit for later in the lap.
Hartley's not catching as quickly as I thought he would be.
Yeah, look how much the Infinity was struggling to get the power down on the exit of Dean Corner there. Into Yentwood. Now into Chapman Curve. Love seeing them flash through in the background as well. How's the battle for 5th and 6th going?
Benton and de Zoo.
Oh, look at this. Benton having to hold up de Zoo. De Zoo trying to go round the outside of Carl Benton. That was very brave, but now that's going to let Eggert through again. My goodness, Eggert really punishing this, but de Zoo, had to just reluctantly concede into Piff Paff, didn't he? So full marks to Remco de Zoo, giving it a go.
Bit of door banging.
Yeah, it didn't quite work in his favour there. Just more bad luck for Hunter Simulation. As indeed this battle here, where Loic Mounier, clearly on the better tyres, clearly on the better ballast, but cannot find a way through Matt Richards. As Stuniarek drops to the back there, so some problems for the SZ car. Looked like one of the gravel tracks was held up there. Looked like Eggert was having a go at Benton again. And Benton now starting to drop away a few seconds from Chris English. Oh, let's look at the way they're just skipping the curb there. Oh, that was Eggert hitting the back of Benton there as they approach the back straight, and Eggert might have the run here.
I think, yeah, he'll be in the slipstream, he'll be on the push to pass. He'll be rocking forwards in his chair, as you do.
Yeah, Rockingham, and look at Benton going well, getting as far to the inside as he can with 2 wheels on the grass there. And now Eggert will be attacking on the outside. Benton will defend the inside, and Remco de Zoo will be licking his lips as once again Eggert has to get a bit compromised here in order not to run into the back of the gravel trap of Benton. Oh, and that's ambitious up the inside at Yentwood as Vermeulen passes Venter, his teammate, for 11th position. And Remco in the rear hang out then as they approach Piff Paff through Chapman Curve. So, yeah, really intense battle here for 7th position. But at the moment, it's Benton holding on for Gravel Trap and getting crucial points for the team's championship here. Remco really taking that's not a shortcut, Remco, my friend. He's not enjoying this car or this circuit, really.
Ziola's had a detour.
Oh, there we go. But found a way back to the circuit finally. And now Loic Mounier still. It's almost like he can get close to the back, but he can't really challenge, can he?
I think he's gaining in the last sector and then...
Yeah, and Louis Hartley must be frustrated as well watching this because he's got the soft tyres too, like Loic Mounier, but he can't quite close in. So this has been an excellent drive from Matt Richards.
We've still got 5 or 6 minutes left, so he could be there right at the end still.
Yeah, he has been catching. He's only 2 seconds back now. It was like 4 or 5 earlier, wasn't it?
I'm not sure he's quite quick enough. Catching is one thing, overtaking's definitely another.
Yeah, let's look at Paul Loic here, who's all cooped up now behind Matt Richards, but fair play. It's been de Zoo attacks Eggert then, and they go side by side through Dean Corner now into Yentwood, but it's Eggert that holds on round the outside. So and now Benton under pressure once more, as it looks like English has caught up to Seifert and Schoenemann. Just Schoenemann is under real pressure. Roy Seifert wants to finally get a podium here in one of these 3 races, and Schoenemann is the only thing. No, actually Hartley's on the podium, isn't he? So he wants another 4th place. Really is what's actually at stake here. A lot of points, but not quite the podium.
Looks close.
He does. He looks close, but is he?
Yeah, I'd say that's the closest he's been. Let's see if he can keep it through the chicane.
Oh, another lock-up from, I think, Richards there. on those mediums, and look at how much Moynier trying to shortcut that chicane. I think he's feeling a bit of pressure from Hartley's proximity, isn't he?
Hartley didn't catch too much that lap. It was probably a couple of tenths.
Yeah, here we go. Schumer doing a great defensive job, though, as Dizu seems to have dropped off the back of Eggert by a few seconds.
As Dizu...
Oh, and that would be why he's gone well and truly off track. Something's happened there. There's either been some sort of failure or he's some urgent business at his front door or something, and he's had to stop the car and retire, which is a big shame for Remco Dizu because that means he's not going to finish any of the 3 races here, which is a shame. He's usually such a reliable driver. As Pascal having a go at Carl Benton and a half there, but Benton once more proving he's one of these standout defensive drivers, forces Eggert to go the long way round at Yentwood, and it is the wrong way round because he can't find a way through. So then once again 200 simulation cars retire from the first. I tell a lie. Dizu did finish 10th, I think, in the first race, didn't he?
Yeah, because poor guy's had some bad luck today.
Yeah, but I think everyone in the Infinity was going to claim bad luck here because it's just not a good track for the rear-wheel drive car. But Moynier certainly doing the best of all of them in second at the moment, with Hartley 1.6 behind him. Or actually 1 second behind him.
I think this is the main battle on the track.
Yeah, but Schumann hasn't really put a foot wrong, although I say that he goes a little bit wide through the chicane. But Chris English is really pushing to keep Seifert in sight. And yet Louis Hartley really starting to... he senses there's a sniff of a win here, or maybe second place at the very least for Louis Hartley up for grabs here. And he's really going to push to catch it because he wants to get as many points over Chris English as he can in this third race to limit the damage from race 2. And Chris English, meanwhile, is hoping these two run into each other, I think. Which, you never know. When it's Peter Schumann, anything could happen here in the number 69. But Peter, to his credit, doing an excellent job so far. And Seifert, who we know is such a talented driver, has won at Nutstop earlier this season. Has not really had an opportunity. Really has got past Greening for 9th position. And Venter now has got past Greening as well. So, yeah, that would be why. Yep. Yeah, as Greening decides to say hello to the marshals at the inside of Dean Corner and knock over a bollard too, because Bullion collects it. And Richards, that's very wide. And now Moynier, who was just starting to drift off the back of him, is now right in the back of that rear bump of the Hyundai. But Louis Hartley coming in too. So the last 2 minutes, it's going to be a nail-biting finish. Can Matthew Richards hold on? Look how close through the chicane there. But that's going to be a little bit compromised on exit for Loic Moynier. And Matt Richards going very much on the push to pass to try and limit the damage. Here we go. So it's Scuderia Mirai looking for their second win then from Matt Richards, with Scuderia Mirai manager Loic Moynier for Underbet Simulation right behind, and then Louis Hartley, championship leader, who sets another fastest lap of the race for Finavon Motorsport. And another lock-up from Loic Moynier as Roy Seifert still putting maximum pressure on the Finavon of Peter Schumann. This could be a great result for Finavon, couldn't it? As here we go. Speaking of which, Pascal Eggert challenging for 7th, but Carl Benton once again holds the inside. The sparks fly on the underside of the 97 Finavon, but Eggert holds on and is able not to lose too much time. And once again finds himself stranded on the outside, door to door with Carl Benton. But Benton once again making Eggert, forcing him to go where he doesn't want to. And look at Loic Moynier here, really pushing, and that's a blow up for one of the SZ cars. That must be Studniarek. Up the inside comes Loic Moynier to try and retake the lead. And wide goes Matt Richards. Moynier retakes first position then. That was a great move, but is he going to be able to hold on here through the chicane? No, he can't. So Loic Moynier has been able to re-snatch that lead that he lost quite a while ago as he goes well and truly off the curb there and onto the grass through the chicane. In a desperate attempt to defend, Pascal Eggert tries to go round the outside of Benton for that 7th position, but Benton holding firm like an immovable object. But Pascal will try and go round the outside into the chicane. Did he pull it off? Here's Richards being attacked by Hartley, and we don't know where to look. Eggert wasn't able to get through.
I think.
Oh no, Seifert well in the wheel tracks of Schumann as Hartley desperately trying to go around the outside at Dean Curve. And this is the last lap, so good timing from Moynier there. He was clearly saving it till the last moment then. But he's going to be able to just hold on those 7 tenths to Richards, but can hardly get into second place here. Here's Benton once again holding the inside from Pascal. Oh, who nearly spins him round at Dean Corner and in fact goes well off track there. Oh my goodness, there just wasn't space for 2 cars there with the way Benton was defending. And that could be contentious after the race, but for the time being, Benton holds on to 7th. Here is Louis Hartley then. Championship leader looking to get it on the podium once more. Can he get that second place off of Matt Richards, who he had to stay stuck behind in race 1? This is a late dive. Oh, they come to grief there. That was very, very rough. And Louis Hartley is going to be able to make through. Is he going to let him back through? Oh, I think he might have to, but they're side by side as they approach that final corner. Who's going to break latest? It's going to be Matt Richards. There we go. That looked like a little lift there from Louis Hartley.
Yeah, that was not... Oh, Schooneman's been... overtaken. He's gone off.
That's Chris English getting up into 5th position then. So crucial points there for Chris English and for Roy Seifert, of course. Oh, big spin as Loic Moynier wins race 3. His first win for Hunter Burt Simulation then. A little bit lucky to start on pole on the soft tyres, of course, but he did the move when he needed it to.
I think English, it's going to be a photo finish.
Oh, no, and that's Roy Seifert having to let the other 2 through.
Did he run out of fuel?
I think Roy might have maybe spun... Peter Schumann around, and now that's him letting him back through. But that's crucial for Chris English because it puts him up to 4th now. So he only loses a couple of points to Louis Hartley. It's almost what happened with the gravel track cars in race 2, remember, where Simmons let English through.
Got to 11th as well.
In race 1, sorry.
In this race.
Yeah. Wow. So yeah, good recovery actually for Simmons, given how far behind he was. But
race.
Wow, that was quite exciting race 3, as we come to expect there. Just a shame that we got 100 bet simulation car winning, but behind it's pretty much all all gravel trap cars. So in the from 4th, 7th, and in 11th, I think. But there we go. Loic Moynier wins for 100 bet simulation. So it's not all misery for 100 bet simulation here, but certainly a victory from the jaws of defeat is how I would describe that drive from Loic Moynier. Certainly great timing and a great battle with Matt Richards there, with Louis Hartley just falling short of taking the podium off of Matt Richards. But still, Richards, what a great debut he's had with, I think that's 3 top 4s in a row, isn't it, in the first 3 races?
I believe it is, yeah.
Then we got Chris English in 4th. Another great, strong drive for Chris English, given how far down he started. Louis Hartley as well, even on the softs, put in a really monster drive to get up to 5th by the end of the first lap. And Schooneman, a little bit unlucky with that contact with Seifert, and Seifert, I think, magnanimous enough to let them through. It definitely felt like that's what happened. We can interview him afterwards, I guess. Carl Benton finishes 7th from Pascal Eggert, who had a great battle with Benton as well. And that's Moynier hitting Richards in the pit lane as well.
You don't see that in Parc Fermé much, do you?
Oh, had another go just as Richards disappeared. Vermeulen finishes 9th, so pretty good final race of the day for Vermeulen, with Paul J. Venter rounding out the top 10. So I think Paul will be satisfied with that.
Hold on, let me get the next page. There we go.
And Andy Simmons finishes 11th for gravel trap, so definitely the weakest of the gravel trap drivers in that particular race, but still a decent recovery drive for number 17 ahead of Ziola, Bouillon, Greening for SZ and Logistical Nightmare respectively. Then it is non-finishers Studniarek, Abdebar, Remco Diziu and Chris Hood for Hunter Burt Simulation respectively. So definitely one to forget for Chris Hood and probably Remco as well. So there you go. Next round is going to be, of course, East London, 26th of January, in a couple of weeks' time at the end of the month. So another high-speed layout. And then Alton Park, another high-speed layout. And Autopolis and Croft should be slightly better for the rear-wheel drive cars to end the season. We'll see.
Autopolis is going to be a very interesting one.
Yeah, well, I think East London by itself, we know how much the South African drivers like Paul and Jack Vermeulen are going to be looking forward to it.
They requested it, so... If they don't do well, that's
Shall we drag Chris English in?
He's not in the Mumble.
He's in the server. Yeah.
We've got Chris English, Loic, and Louis.
Yeah, let's drag them all in before they decide they don't want to be interviewed and disappear, as Studniarek disappears from the server. But Chris English joins us now, muted, of course, because he's... Nope, he doesn't join us. Okay.
Roy Seifert's there as well.
Shall we get Loic and Moynier and Loic Moynier and Louis Hartley in, sorry. Because we want to see how their bet went. Oh. So, sorry to drag you both in unannounced, guys, but we are now joined by Loic Monnier, winner of Race 3, and Louis Hartley, podium finisher in Race 3 and runner-up in Race 1. So who should we start? We start with Loic. Loic, are you there? No, he's muted. Oh, no, he's unmuted. Okay, Loic, are you there? Well, Loic, I'm going to assume you can hear me and say congratulations.
Yes.
Yes, there we go. Congratulations, Loic. That was a brilliant fight with Matt Richards, who I am assuming you know quite well because he's one of your drivers in Race 3 there. There was a bit of luck starting on pole on the soft tyres, but you made the move right at the end when you needed to. Matt Richards looked like he was really giving you a lot of trouble there. And when you got through, was there a bit of panic? Or did you think, right, I'll just wait for the right moment and get back through?
Well, no, I think it was really much the right conditions because softs and, of course, no weight ballast or maybe 9 kilos at most. And I struggled with discovering the car, basically. Race 1, I wasn't there. Race 2, doing my first laps. But it was really great to have Matt with me in my own team, first of all, but also sharing the track with him, doing a few battles. And yeah, we were in voice chat together, so we were talking throughout the race, and we were like, well, I don't know, just trying to fight a little bit for fun.
It did look like a very clean fight, and I guess it's just as well because none of my other drivers were in the Hunter Birch voice chat, so you didn't have to be in with them, I guess.
Yeah, we were with the Moraya team. I didn't see Chris, but he probably prefers to race by himself. It's fine. And so even there was Louis at the start before the race actually started, we could share a few words. And I'm sure all of three of us loved this fight. When Matt was at front, it wasn't planned. I kind of shut myself a bit, but then I composed myself back and looked for the move. I see the rear-wheel drive is really strong in corners, but terrible in straight line. So you have to make your move in the twisty sections.
Indeed, and that crucial move happened at the hairpin, turn 9, wasn't it? It was just a good opportunism there where Matt went a little bit wide and you just found that little opening on the inside. Were you worried also about this man, Mr. Hartley, closing on you?
Well, I was worried because my team wouldn't score more points than FG, and I would lose my bet if he passed Matt. But
of course, yeah.
But yeah, I was right on the bumper of Matt. I went for the move to win, and obviously Louis was catching, but we thought it was safe, and it was safe until the final lap, where these two had a wonderful fight.
Well, it certainly made up what was otherwise been a really tough day for Hunter Birch Simulation with just a couple of top 10 finishes and like one car finishing each race, which when the gravel trap have got all three cars, often in the top 3, can be quite damaging in the team's championship. But thanks, Loic, you really saved the day there, and I can't wait to see you in action again at East London in a couple of weeks' time.
Yes, I will certainly be there, this time attending qualifying in race 1, I hope.
Well, let's fingers crossed your dad doesn't have an emergency.
No, it should be fine, but yeah. And
is he alright, by the way?
Oh, he's wonderful. He's
doing
wonderful.
That's great to hear. Okay, always good to hear Mr. Monnier doing alright. But anyway, thanks, Loic, and I think you can enjoy a well-earned rest after that one.
I will, indeed. I will watch a podcast on YouTube and fall asleep.
Ooh.
Thank you.
I hope it's not one of my podcasts because those aren't very full of sleepy.
No.
Anyway, let's see.
Link me one.
Oh, okay. Sure thing. I'm not sure it'll be your kind of thing, but we'll see. So who should we talk to next, Nick? Should we do Louis Hartley or Roy Seifert? Because I think...
whoever wants to speak.
I think Roy came in more recently, so let's try Roy because he seems more alive. Roy, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so that was very dramatic for you. So race 1, you got in a little incident, I think, and then had to recover, I think. But there was that great battle with Pascal, with Remco, and with Peter Schumann, I think, which you came out on top of at the end of race 1 for 8th. And then race 2, you almost got onto the podium at the end there with that great battle with Carl Benton, wasn't it? Where you just you were the only one who was really able to hold the candle to the gravel trap cars in race 2. And then race 3 was sort of all over the place with what happened at the end there as well. So do you want to talk us through any of the races? Because I think all of them are interesting from your point of view.
Yeah. The round was a bit tricky, to be honest, for me.
You're telling me. You should see how my guys did.
Yeah. Didn't have the pace today, I think. It was like half a second off pace from pole, and mediums were terrible today. I think in race 1 and 2 it got touched on the rear in turn 1. That's why I fall back that much, especially in race 1. But the battles were nice, especially with the one with Pascal and
Pascal
Louis
had steering damage. I don't know if you saw it, but he actually hit the wall quite hard at Piff Path, which is like turn 5 on the sort of fast left-hander. Hit the wall on the outside and then was driving with bent steering for the rest of the race.
Yeah, it was a bit. He was a bit slow, to be honest, for the pace he had in practice. I thought he had like a minor damage or something. Same with Louis. I don't know what happened on there. I think like disconnect or something.
In race 2 there was a disconnection.
Yeah, race 2 was a bit at the straight to turn 1.
You were in a battle with Louis, weren't you? And then Louis had that moment.
He leapt into the wall and then back on my left side. I got a bit scared.
Yes, it was quite frightening on broadcast as well. We were wondering if that was just us lagging or. But it seemed you actually jumped out of the way, so yeah, it did seem you saw what we saw, and in a more scary position from the cockpit as well. But you survived that and almost got Carl Benton. Carl Benton defended really well in all 3 races, I think I have to say, and you had your work cut out fighting with Kyle in that second race near the end.
Yeah, in race 2 I had the tire advantage, so it should be easier for me, but Kyle defended well. Was pretty hard for 3 or 4 laps to pass, but yeah.
And then any thoughts on race 3? Because we didn't quite see it on stream, but it looked like you lifted off at the end to let Peter and Chris English through.
Yeah, I touched him on the hairpin for the straight before the chicane.
Ah, okay, so that was what happened.
He spun on the hairpin, got 6th, and then I let him through.
Fair enough. I'm sure Peter appreciates. I know Chris definitely appreciates it because he basically stayed out of trouble and got a free P5, P4, sorry. But a frustrating wave, I'm sure for you, but certainly some excellent battles there. And I know with the Kings, the rest of the Kings team sort of pulling out, you're sort of the sole representative. Is it all just focused on the Drivers' Championship now? For you?
Hard to say, I guess. Not in the fight anymore.
Well, I think it's mainly Chris and Louis really in the battle of their own at the moment, especially with Gravel Trap. Andy Simmons letting Chris English through at the end of race 1, which was an interesting little moment on stream where Chris English got a free 2nd place essentially to sort of limit the damage, a free 3rd place, sorry, to limit the damage Louis Hartley could do to him. But anyway, thanks for talking to us, Roy. Always great to hear from Kings Racing. And I'm sure we'll see you back to your best again at East London because that Toyota still looks very, very quick, and I'm sure you've got another few wins in you. So, and you never know how the championship could go, and the drivers especially, because it seems the teams look really open, and now it's gone the other way around. The drivers looking more open. So let's talk to the leader now, who's been waiting very patiently of the Drivers' Championship, Louis Hartley. Louis, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, it's great to hear from you, Louis. So. No wins this time, unfortunately, but I know there was race 2 was the big disappointment, but race 1, you were the only one, even with all the ballast, the success ballast he had going in, to really keep pace with Matt Richards, who was very impressive in that Hyundai, wasn't he? The same car you're using. And then race 2, obviously, there was the fight with Roy that we heard about from Roy's perspective, which sounded quite scary with you lagging in front of him and then sadly being disconnected in that battle for the sort of top 5 or so. And then there was race 3 where you went from, I think, nearly last to 5th on the first lap or something like that. That looked pretty spectacular. And then you were fighting with Loic, or desperately trying to catch up to Loic at the end and to Matt Richards, and again fell just short of Matt Richards. So I guess 1 and 3 are the interesting ones to talk about here, aren't they, Lee?
Yeah, 2 was a bit of a disappointment for me, but the racing I got to do was good fun. Race 1, I just had a decent start. I think there was an incident behind me at turn 1, wasn't there? So I just got a gap from that.
There were several
and
incidents, and Roy, Remco, and I think one of the SZ cars got caught up in them.
Right, I only saw the green Infinity spinning round.
Oh,
that was
well,
it.
we know what that is, don't we?
Yeah.
But,
yeah, at that point, I was sort of making a plan for the event, thinking Matt must have used his softs up for that race, which I was right about because I checked afterwards. Then for race 2 would be about equal on weight and same tires, and then it just went downhill from there.
yeah, well, it was interesting. End of race 1, of course, Andy Simmons let his teammate Chris English through to limit the points gap to you, because it meant Chris was only 1 position behind you. And then in race 3, there was a similar thing of Roy, where Roy sort of unintentionally let Chris English through after hitting Peter Schumann in their little battle. And so he finished only 1 place behind you again as well. So does that annoy you a little bit? Do you think, I should be a little bit further ahead of Chris English if it wasn't for that disconnection in the team games from Gravel Trap and Roy slightly messing up the ending there?
Yeah, the disconnection is a bit annoying because it's not like my Wi-Fi entirely cut out or something. I managed to somehow stay in Discord during it, so that's slightly annoying. But I did best I could with what I had. I ended up getting like 12 positions gained or something in the third race to get some decent points, and all that really matters in that one is that I outscored the people trying to chase me in the championship in race 3. So race 2, it's a shame I got no points from it, but there's not much I could have done about that.
Yeah, and certainly there was a lot of contact, especially at the start of race 2. There was a big battle, wasn't there? And you were going off track as well at one point, I think. But yeah, race 3, did you think there was a chance you could have caught Loic and Matt, or did you feel like they were just that little bit too far ahead and you kind of ran out of laps?
I was surprised with how much pace they had. Both of them fighting. I know Matt would be on the mediums and more ballast than me, so I'm surprised it took me that long to catch them. So when I first got into third and I knew it was just those two I had to catch, I thought there was a good chance of getting the win, but as it went on, I'm happy enough getting third. I think maybe a second was possible if I was a bit quicker on the catch-up and had another lap to attack, but third place is alright. It's only a difference of 2 points, and impressed with the pace of those two.
So 4 events left, and 4 times 3 is, of course, 12. So that means 12 individual rounds left. Gap to Chris English, it was, what was it? It's something like...
I think it was 45. Somewhere around there. So it's going to be about 25.
Yeah, 25. So it's not as comfortable as it was, but really it's gone down from a few potential challenges to really it's looking like you and Chris for this title then. Do you think you fancy your chances against Chris then, or do you think it's going to be a case of just sort of limiting the damage, or are you in sort of just I want to win more races kind of mode? Because you're sort of the Gravel Trap have got 3 cars in the fight, and it's you and Mario when Mario's not got exams essentially. So and it can maybe once or twice Pascal or Peter could maybe get in the way at least and hold the others up for you. But it definitely feels like you're sort of, even though you're leading on points, you're sort of kind of you against the world here, isn't it, Louis?
Yeah, I suppose in theory it could be easier if there was like a team game to be played, but I'm not that bothered about it. I'm racing for fun, and the championships nice to go for. It'll probably only be like the final 2 rounds or something I'll be really interested in it. For now it's just I'll keep trying to get podiums when I can, and if there's a race win to go for, it's not like I'm gonna sit back and leave it for the sake of being safe and getting points. I'll still be just try to get as many places as I can just for the fun of it.
I know how much you practice, by the way, Louis. What are your thoughts on East London? Are you feeling like that's going to be a good track, or are you going to... there's the traditional, how many times can I roll the Hyundai before setting good lap time sort of thing in the sort of weeks leading up to it?
I tried each of the tracks when the calendar was first announced just to see the ones I didn't know, and East London seems like it could be a decent one. If I remember right, it's quite narrow, but there's a good long straight for passing.
It's very narrow and it's mostly straight.
But it is a 1960s
like
Formula One track, isn't it?
Yeah, this one though, I showed up with like 3 hours of sleep and just like an hour of practice on the server before this. This one I had pretty much no practice for, but I'll probably be back to doing way more time on the track.
2
than I need to in
podiums
the
isn't
future.
bad considering the lack of practice.
Yeah, I'll take it.
But certainly, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how that Drivers' Championship develops. And best of luck to you, Lou. You've been very, very impressive this season, and you kept the lead intact, which is the important thing. So we'll have to see how East London and beyond goes for you.
I'm just glad I didn't disconnect from race 3 as well, because I saw a few cars teleporting around on my screen in that one too.
Yeah, well, there was that huge fight in front of you, so I guess you were bad you just didn't get spun out by Loic or Matt in the end, because they were going hell for leather. But that was a clean fight, actually. We have heard from Loic earlier, who is still in the server, by the way. I shouldn't talk about him like he's not here. But
Yeah, it was actually good to watch from my perspective as well, because I was getting to see everything from it, because they were always in view of me.
But anyway, best of luck for the rest of the season, Louis.
Thanks. Good luck to your drivers as well.
Well, we'll need it at this rate. But thanks. So anyway, that's really all. Nick, any closing thoughts? Great to finally get a race in the books after the events of Mont Tremblant.
Race 1, as we clicked over to the race, I was like praying that it wasn't going to kick everyone out, but it worked. I've got.
Well, now we just got the drivers praying they don't all get penalties from one another after all those first lap contacts.
That's to be seen. But I've got a message from Chris English who couldn't get into Mumble.
Oh right, he was in earlier, and I tried to drag him in. Then he
his mic isn't working.
Fair enough.
They had tactics for race 2 on softs. 1, 2, 3 was the perfect result. Overall, very good night with 3rd, 1st, and 4th. He's very happy.
Yeah, it did feel a little bit like Simmons and Benton were holding their tongues a little bit. They might have wanted to get the win, but they thought, well, let's let Chris do the best in the Drivers' Championship, and we'll get all the teams points either way.
Yeah, they've got their wins already.
But anyway, well, you can tell a little bit of bitterness from we had a really bad 3 races, and Gravel Trap had an amazing 3 races. Well, actually, 3rd race was a little bit better for us because we won, but which I guess is a small difference. We only got 1 car finish, but at least it won. So cheers for that, Luke, once again. Anyway, so we'll have to see how the rest of the season develops, but I feel like Teams Championship, I think Gravel Trap have well and truly stolen the march now. And it's really going to be down to whether Chris English can overcome Louis Hartley, whether Louis Hartley can hold the pace, can keep things going in his favour, which he generally seems to be able to do. So we'll have to see if that continues. But obviously, Rockingham, that's all from Rockingham. Next time will be East London, 26th of January. Join us then. From me, from all the teams, drivers, and from Nick Homewood here at EERC British Touring Car Championship, it's goodbye for now. We'll see you next time in South Africa, the home race of the Logistical Nightmare team and several of its drivers. I'm sure will be very, very keen to impress. So look out for those guys. I'm sure they're going to be putting on their very, very best once we get to East London.